So tell us, Ilene, just first, when you first got the Firefly last April, it was a little slow, right?
You mean treating myself?
Treating yourself and also just getting people in.
Sometimes
yes. When people buy something, it explodes. They already have a big office. Sometimes it takes a few minutes. Can you just share just a little bit about how that worked?
Okay, sure. Yeah, it had been slow, has been getting much busier now. I recruited all my friends, look, I got this wonderful, amazing new device. Please come and be my, guinea pigs, basically. And they're hooked. They're still coming back to me on a regular basis, along with other people that they've told about it, referred, other people to, and people that are seeing my name on your website, which is very helpful. Thank you for that. A lot of people have been calling me. So I've been much busier lately. I have another job. I have a side job 2 days a week at Occupational Health. So I've booked up completely Fridays, mostly until now. Mondays are starting to get busy, Thursdays too. So eventually I'm going to leave that job.
That's very common. A lot of practitioners are that one job, and then they're 1 day a week Firefly. Well, we like to think 2 days to get 2 treatments in, but then they're 3 days a week. Then pretty soon it's just all over their book.
Yeah, and I do Saturdays too, actually. So even Saturdays, half a day I'm busy. So yeah, I've been pretty busy.
That's great. That's great. Do you want to share some of your experiences?
Yeah, so I'll talk about my parasite experience, which is quite shocking to me. I'll use an old-fashioned word. I'm flabbergasted. So before Firefly, I started using some microbe formula stuff, which is the sister company to Cellcore. And I never really got too much out of it. And then after I got the Firefly and you, Dr. Bales, recommended the Cellcore, I got an account and started doing full moon cleanses. And like I've been treating myself abdominally since April, on and off, like at least every month. Never noticed anything, but now that I'm thinking back, I probably should have fished around a little bit. I probably did pass some things. So for 3 months, I've been building up to the top level of the full moon kit along with Firefly. And then I started pulsing it 5 days on, 3 days off. I heard a talk by Dr. Lee Merritt, who said sometimes these parasites, you might kill off the adults, and then within 3 days, they're laying new eggs. So you have to keep retreating. So I started doing that. And on the 15th now, I just wasn't feeling good. So I started the Cellcore kit again and rescanned myself and found, so the common things I find that everybody does probably, the fasciolopsis, I had all of those. I had hookworm. I've been living and sleeping with dogs all my life, so that's not a surprise. Pinworm, a bunch of other culprits, and this time roundworm came up, Ascaris. It was the first time I'd seen that. Well, the next day I passed worms, but at first it would just look like a regular poop, but I saw the end. I'm sorry for anybody who has it's not a good talk for people that have weak stomachs.
No, wait till we show some pictures.
So I saw a little thing hanging out of one of them, and I said, well, I was listening to Jason Dean, who also is associated with Cellcore, and he advocates Cellcore. He says, you're gonna laugh, but I tell my patients to get chopsticks. Like, you have to look, right? Sometimes you don't see it. So I said, all right, that looks like a worm. And I took a chopstick, and lo and behold, it was a tangled mess of worms. Look my fingers, like that. Just covered, like you say, with the biofilm, right? And I was like, oh my God, I was like freaking out. And then later on in the day, passed a bigger one. And to make a long story short, every day since then, I have been passing worms. I am.
Oh my God! You didn't tell me that. Wow.
Yeah, I didn't, because I told you early on.
Yeah.
Still every day.
Well, they say 85% of the world population has had an infection at one point in their life. And I think now, because we're importing so many foods as well, our bodies aren't used to some of the parasites that are getting imported on the vegetables and meats. We just found out E. coli and Anaplasma marginale cannot, well, a lot of you probably already knew, but like Ebola cannot be cooked out and it cannot be froze out. And we're starting to believe that with Anaplasma marginale, because, you know, even with Lyme-Plex, we had plenty of blood tests to show what it was doing, but Anaplasma marginale is, I don't see it on IGeneX. I don't see them watching this. And the Firefly that was the scragglers with Lyme disease. We would get rid of the big boys, but they still, you know, of course, EBV, we can rock their worlds with, you know, a blading EBV, where it's taken years for some of them to try to get it under control. It's amazing that way. But Anaplasma marginale is showing up all over this country. And I just read up on it this last week for one of our practitioners. We were having this discussion, you know, for the Lyme world. And yeah, as I started doing all the research, it was nothing but cattle, all the top Google searches. This is in our food source. And so, you know, having your patients check back in, we can get rid of a lot of this stuff. But it was like Dr. Gertler said with our people that had, you know, fungus, you know, they were dealing with mold. And he said, listen, yes, we're having great success. And by the way, we're having even better success with the Firefly when you put these together. But he's like, if you're living in it, we're not going to be able to stay on top of it. But thank you, God, we've got the Firefly for the reinfections. But what excited me about when you started talking about these results is the fact that we've got to really dig in with some of these. We may kill off onesie twosies, and it's remarkable. Dr. Bale's talking about the chopsticks. Remember the gal with the 3.5 foot tapeworm? You know, it's like it's getting these out and staying with this. I don't think there's ever been anyone else. I don't care if it's with homeopathy, with all the different, there's a lot of people that have been on just Cellcore and they had great success with a bunch, but you add that Firefly and boom, and that's what you figured out. You kept working on it.
Yes, I just kept doing it. And yeah, and when I aim the Firefly, I know it's doing something, because I want to tell you, I now know what it feels like to have them inside of me. It's just terrible. Getting used to it though. But when I aim the Firefly with the right frequency, it felt like I had a fetus inside of me again. I'm telling you. And that was yesterday morning. And since then I passed 20 inches, I'm sorry. That would be really a nightmare.
Oh God.
I just estimate it, you know, I don't touch them. Like 20 inches long parasites, and also like 10 tangled up again. So I have no idea. I think I'm like at 60 or 70. I just can't believe this in 3-week period. And another thing to know is when you have clients, or when you yourself have go through this, it's very emotionally distressing. So you want to be available for them.
Yes.
I was like really trying to get the Cellcore people on the phone, like, well, you know, like, is this normal? Should I go to the hospital? Like, how much can you pass, you know? And I did finally get my rep, and she was very reassuring. Are you okay, Lori?
Yeah, I think she just had some water go down the wrong way.
Oh my goodness.
Well, that's incredible. So perseverance, persistence is kind of the theme here today.
It is.
Yeah, and sometimes it isn't, you know, like Lori had said, sometimes the Cellcore alone, yes, they do get results. And so the Firefly alone gets results, but sometimes the two together is really what you need, especially with that level of burden, I think.
Yeah, I think that's really what helped me, definitely. And also when you're talking about frequency, this makes me think of that. I've been doing a lot of things over the course of many months of getting my frequency stronger. I do Qigong every day. Learning this new kind of sound healing, you know, I do different things and take other products to make me healthier, so that my terrain and my frequency is not susceptible to these things. So I think I've also gotten myself to a point where I can expel them a lot easier. So
yeah,
and perhaps even
the process. I'm sorry, Dr.
Totally. I was saying just perhaps even be more resistant to being infected. My thing is obviously with the terrain theory. and this is for any kind of upper respiratory infection, or even, I'm starting to believe now, that parasitic, if you can keep on a biophysical level your stomach acid stronger, well, you possibly could eat something with the Anaplasma marginale or that, right? But you wouldn't be susceptible to it, or E. coli or something, or even a fasciculus buski. And all of us, we've talked about frequencies to kill so far today, but also the frequencies can be good things too. We have a resonant frequency to us, in a vibrational energy, and if we can keep that strong, then we can keep our little force field around us stronger, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, isn't that the innate intelligence of the immune system? It's not about kill. It's about balance. And when these, like with Lyme disease, of course, I deal with that so much, but it's so distressed that I believe, Ilene, is why you had so many from chronic. I mean, were you ever diagnosed with Lyme?
I wasn't. Actually, I was in who's the man in I forget, it's the test in California. Actually, I did.
Oh, IGeneX, Dr. Harris. Yeah.
No, it wasn't IGeneX, it was somebody else. It was something else.
Really?
I just can't remember. But yeah, so it was in there. I did have it.
You did. See, that makes sense.
And I was never treated,
Oh, you weren't?
No, I never really had overt Lyme disease. So yeah. Wow. So I've also learned that parasites carry it. So parasites come along in the tick bite too. So
yes, they do. I totally forgot reading that.
They can all come together. So as I think as these parasites are dying too, my last scan showed up like unbelievable amount of things. I think they're releasing other things into me now.
Yeah, Dr. Bales, talk about that briefly, because I know you've talked about the toxins that are released. Like I had a pinworm. They were only the heads when I looked them up in my lungs, and that can literally be deadly, and one did get away from it, and all my lung symptoms went away. But then, those little buggers, not the particular one that were the pinworm heads in the biofilm. They call it like a sack of them. And I don't get how you can just have heads. I mean, you have to be a parasitologist to really understand all of this, but there's fundamental things. And it's like with the Firefly, with its ability to help with infections and empower the immune system. And it's like Lineplex Plus. We have people that pass 8 to 10 inch tapeworms. I've had, unfortunately or fortunately, gotten lots of pictures. But the matter of fact is, with the Firefly and with Lineplex Plus, it's an antibiotic. With the Lineplex, we know that, antibacterial and antifungal. So the infections that these parasites cause, I guess it's kind of like today I got asked if somebody's treating the heart and there's blood clots going on. I wanted to find out from you, Dr. Bales, real quickly on that. But besides that, when we start killing these off, I mean, frankly, I had a gal early on with Lineplex Plus that was so infected with parasites that Lineplex Plus was helping the immune system kill it off, right? But they were coming out of her skin live. Oh my God. And what was beautiful though is we found the Firefly, and I've never had anyone have that happen again. So there's got to be, can you talk about that? Like when on full moon, one more thing, when I got scanned on the full moon a couple months back, every time they passed over one area, it was hot. And of course, I've heard the stories many times of practitioners treating and the people are feeling things move around in there, like you were saying. But does that automatically mean, Dr. Bales, you've got inflammation in that area? And I could tell. I literally had a lump that we found later where that was. And so the inflammation that the heat when you're doing the Firefly treatment, if you do have that, should you stay on that longer as you're mowing the grass with the abdomen, as Lindsay calls it?
You can, in regards to your first question from a little while ago, the parasites live in a realm with other bad guys like bacteria and viruses. It's not even viruses can live inside a bacteria. So when you are killing the parasite, a couple of things are happening. You're releasing all of that, which is why it's always important. And so the Cellcore Full Moon Kit has a binder in it.
Binders, yes.
But if you don't do the Full Moon Kit, have a binder, because you're probably not going to do the Full Moon Kit when it's not the full moon. So have a charcoal binder available to help. And what the binder does is it binds to all of the nasty dead bacteria, viruses, or maybe the bacteria viruses aren't dead. Maybe they were released from this parasite and they're still alive for a little while. They need a host to live in. Besides you, it's like kind of like living a host within a host, right? But it'll grab onto that and really lessen, as will the Limeplex, the Herxheimer reaction, because the Limeplex is anti-inflammatory. To the charcoal is not necessarily anti-inflammatory. It's more of a binder.
Yeah.
So you can take both. The charcoal is supposed to be taken away from meals and other supplements, but you can time it throughout the day when to take what. But they release that. Also, the parasites, especially if you've had them for a while, which most people have, are known to be a holding ground, a reservoir, if you will, for metals.
Oh,
so you have to watch with that. So I have had patients come and say, I did this, I feel better. I think the past stuff, the parasites are gone, but now, I'm lethargic, or my neuropathy is worse, and it can be from metals. And there are ways to chelate the heavy metals out, especially that they can run tests for that. But just knowing, that's a good point, Lori, that can happen. Doesn't always happen, but it can happen. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm a poster child for, I don't get paid a thing. I'm not a distributor at all. Just like we're not with Cellcore, but I swear to God, what I see every once in a while, I hop on Facebook. I'm not on there a lot anymore. But advanced TRS, my God, these people post the before and after tests with these heavy metals. I'm just a huge advanced TRS fan. I know people that are very, very chronic with, and I know there's thousands now of different products out there because it got a lot of attention over the last 5 years. Heavy metals, and then people go with, it's the latest thing, getting rid of the heavy metals. But the further I studied Lyme disease, and the more I realized, because people with Limeplex Plus, we'd have people that were going asymptomatic in 10 days, but then we had these other people, and the doctors had to explain to me it's different metabolic responses, and heavy metals are really important. But Dr. Gertler said that people who are very chronic Lyme can't tolerate that heavy metal chelation. And that's where I told him, I said, you should see what I'm reading. Thousands, they're posting thousands of active Lyme people that are having phenomenal results with this advanced TRS. So that was just a little, side note there, like we are with Cellcore. What's holistic medicine? Finding what works best and collaborating with the other companies and honing this. And that's what we're doing here.
That's great. That's great. Ilene, anything else? It sounds like a nice journey for you that you're still on. That's okay. It's not the journey, not so much destination.
I told one of my clients today, I said, I've become an, wasn't expecting to be an expert in parasites. I'm getting there now. And all my friends and my clients are all like buying the Cellcore and coming to me like, I'm going to be like Dr. Bales on the full moon. I'm pretty busy. I'm booked up over the weekend.
A lot of us are.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
So yeah, I guess that's it. And the heavy metals, and Cellcore has a heavy metal
binder program.
Also. They have really a good line of products.
They do. They have a very good one. But I'll tell you something. I know someone who knows Cellcore very well. I found out this last week because Lindsay, we flew her out to New Jersey, and literally the Firefly picked up what Cellcore had missed. There's something about these two that's going to rock this world with these parasites. Can I ask you something in closing here? Have you noticed that you're not craving sugars? Have you been losing weight? Are you feeling better when you eat your healthy foods? Do you mind talking about that?
All of that, yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I didn't tell you all my symptoms. It would take too long, but just like, any aging woman with all those issues, I couldn't lose weight. My doctor, I go to a functional medicine doctor, would recommend, do your intermittent fasting, take this shake instead of a meal. I was starving. These worms were like eating food faster than I could. but I wasn't
Yeah.
losing weight because I had the sugar cravings. Yes. So
Yes.
now that's gone. I
Oh,
don't, and I
wow.
wake up in the morning, I have my tea. I wake up with energy. I don't need caffeine anymore.
Oh, I
I don't
love
fall
it.
asleep at 7 o'clock at night. I go out dancing until 11. I'm fine. It's amazing. I feel so amazing.
I'm
Yeah.
so happy for
Yeah.
you, Eileen, and thank you
thank
so
you.
much for coming on and sharing with your
welcome.
colleagues.
You're welcome.
Just to recap, you had started to do some with the Firefly. You did. I remember you started working in April on this, and you did get a little discouraged. I remember you were a little discouraged. And then when you wrote me the email, you said, Lori, I was discouraged, but wow. So from walk through one last time, at what point did the dam break?
It basically broke when I didn't feel good that day. It was the 15th. It wasn't even the full moon. It was just in the middle. Maybe cycling the Cellcore full moon kit on and off all that time really put a dent in it. And I don't know. And maybe, I don't know really exactly what caused it. I think the snowball effect of all those things I'm doing for my own frequency and health, and maybe getting rid of some of the heavy metals over time with some chelators that I use at home. That might have been what did it. And then the Firefly and that Cellcore kit just like, boom.
Yeah, those two
Like,
together
woo,
are
finally.
amazing. They're amazing. Thank you again, Eileen. We appreciate it.
welcome.
Well, here's again why we have the topic of parasites this week is because you know, synchronicity sent me that fabulous email that made my heart just explode. And well, you're very special to me. I know you're going to do wonderful things over there in the Berkshires, especially with the Lyme community, because there's not a Lyme customer, client, or one of my doctor's Lyme patients that don't have issues the Firefly can help with. You know, they're chronically ill, so they're very, very susceptible. So that's what's very exciting about this. And so having you actually get to experience this, that's what's happened for all of us. I'm passionate because, for crying out loud, I've had miracles with the Firefly.